In the quiet suburbs of Portland, where rain-soaked streets reflected the glow of streetlights, Benson Bennett pulled into the driveway of his modest home. The white male teacher had no idea that behind the walls of his own bathroom, a scene was unfolding that would shatter his life forever. Inside, Thomas Wright, the family's gardener, a black man with kind eyes and calloused hands, stood shirtless before a small mirror. The electric razor buzzed in his hand as he trimmed his beard, completely unaware of what was about to happen. The bathroom door creaked open. Sophia, Benson's wealthy white wife, stood there, her blue eyes widening at the sight of Thomas's bare chest. The world seemed to pause as their eyes met in the mirror. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," Thomas stammered, grabbing a towel. "I thought I locked the door." But Sophia didn't back away. Instead, her lips curled into a dangerous smile. "Don't be shy," she purred, stepping closer. "You can continue. I don't mind watching." Thomas's discomfort was immediate. "Mrs. Bennett, I should finish up and go." "Let me help you," Sophia whispered, reaching for the razor. "I'm quite good with my hands." "Mrs. Bennett, please." Thomas backed away. "This isn't appropriate. You're married to Mr. Benson." Sophia's face darkened. "Married?" she scoffed. "Is that what you call it when someone is never home? Always at that school? Always with those children who aren't even his?" Before Thomas could respond, Sophia pressed closer. "I'll pay you," she offered, her voice husky. "Name your price. Monthly payments, cash. No one would know." "I can't betray Mr. Benson's trust," Thomas insisted, pushing her hand away gently. Something in Sophia snapped. Her eyes flashed with fury as she began tearing at her own clothes, ripping her blouse with shocking force. "What are you doing?" Thomas cried out in horror. "Help! Someone help me!" Sophia suddenly screamed, her voice piercing the quiet house. Thomas lunged forward, covering her mouth gently. "Please, Mrs. Bennett, don't do this." In that moment, the bathroom door flew open. Benson stood there, briefcase still in hand, his face draining of color as he took in the scene, his half-naked wife, his gardener's hand over her mouth, his towel slipping to the floor. "What's happening here?" Benson whispered, his voice barely audible. Sophia seized the moment, pushing Thomas away and collapsing to the floor in tears. He forced himself on me," she sobbed. "I was just checking if he needed fresh towels and he grabbed me." "No," Thomas protested, his eyes wide with panic. "Mr. Bennett, she's lying. She came on to me. I rejected her." But Benson's eyes had already hardened. The betrayal he felt was visceral, cutting through him like a knife. Without a word, he pulled out his phone and dialed. "Police? This is Benson Bennett. My gardener just assaulted my wife." The news spread through Portland like wildfire. Respected teacher's gardener arrested for assault. Thomas's face was plastered across local news, his reputation in tatters. In the county jail, Thomas sat alone, his head in his hands. "I'm innocent," he whispered to the empty cell, but no one was listening. Meanwhile, at the Bennett home, Sophia played the victim perfectly, giving tearful interviews while Benson stood beside her, a protective arm around her shoulders. "We trusted him," Benson told reporters, his voice breaking. "He was like family to us." What no one knew was that in the kitchen of the Bennett home, Lucia, their cook, had overheard something that would change everything. One afternoon, while preparing dinner, Lucia heard raised voices from the master bedroom. Curious, she moved closer to the door left slightly ajar. "I can't believe you would do something so vile," Benson's voice thundered. "Framing an innocent man? Have you lost your mind?" Lucia froze, her heart pounding. "Oh, please." Sophia's voice dripped with contempt. "Don't act so righteous. Maybe if you paid attention to me instead of those brats at school, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." "So you admit it. You tried to seduce Thomas and then framed him when he rejected you. What does it matter now?" Sophia laughed coldly. "It's his word against mine, and guess who everyone believes." Lucia's hands trembled as she pulled out her phone and began recording. This was wrong, and she couldn't stay silent. Across town, in a small apartment, Naomi, Thomas's wife, sat staring at the wall. Her phone rang constantly, reporters, neighbors, former friends, all wanting a statement about her predator husband. Their son, Leo, just 7 years old, had stopped speaking entirely, traumatized by his classmates' taunts. When Lucia knocked on her door that evening, Naomi almost didn't answer, but something made her open it. "I work for the Bennetts," Lucia whispered, looking over her shoulder nervously. "I have something you need to hear." Inside, Lucia played the recording. Naomi's hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "I knew it," she whispered. "I knew Thomas would never do such a thing." With trembling hands, she called Thomas's lawyer immediately. "We have proof," she said, her voice stronger than it had been in weeks. "Actual proof of his innocence." But before the lawyer could arrive, a sleek black car pulled up outside Naomi's apartment. Sophia stepped out, sunglasses hiding her eyes despite the evening hour. "We need to talk," she said when Naomi opened the door. Inside, Sophia didn't waste time. "I know Lucia came to see you," she said coldly, "and I know what she gave you." Naomi's heart raced. "How did you?" "It doesn't matter." Sophia cut her off, opening her designer purse. She pulled out a thick envelope. "This is for your silence. Enough money to move away, start fresh, give Leo a better life." Naomi stared at the envelope, her mind racing. The money could change everything for them. No more struggling, no more debt. But at what cost? "My husband is innocent," she said quietly. Sophia's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Is his innocence worth your son's future? Worth your safety?" The threat hung in the air between them. "What do you mean?" Naomi asked, her voice barely audible. "Lucia hasn't been seen since she left your apartment," Sophia said casually. "Isn't that strange?" Naomi's blood ran cold. "What did you do to her?" Sophia ignored the question, pushing the envelope closer. "Take it. Delete the recording. Forget this conversation happened." With shaking hands, Naomi took the money. As soon as Sophia left, she collapsed to the floor, sobbing. What had she done? The day of Thomas's final hearing arrived. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension. Thomas stood in the defendant's box, his once proud shoulders now slumped with defeat. Judge Harrison entered, silencing the murmurs. "After reviewing all evidence in this case, this court finds the defendant, Thomas Wright, guilty of attempted assault." A collective gasp filled the room. "The court sentences the defendant to 6 years in federal prison." "No." The cry came from the back of the courtroom. Leo had broken free from Naomi's grasp and was running toward his father. "Dad, Dad." Guards blocked the boy's path. "Back up, kid." Thomas's eyes filled with tears. "Leo, be strong for me. I love you." As Thomas was led away, Naomi sat frozen, the weight of her betrayal crushing her chest. In her purse was the recording that could have saved him, the truth she had sold for comfort. 5 years passed. Thomas served his sentence in silence, his spirit broken but not destroyed. Every night, he prayed for justice, for truth to prevail. Naomi had moved to a larger house, bought new clothes, sent Leo to private school. The money had changed their lives materially, but the guilt ate at her soul. Leo, now 12, had grown distant, his eyes holding a sadness beyond his years. Then one day, While using his mother's old laptop for a school project, Leo discovered something hidden in the recycle bin, a video file that had never been properly deleted. Curious, he clicked play. His eyes widened as he heard Sophia's confession, her cruel laughter as she admitted framing his father. His hands shook with rage and hope. That night, when Naomi returned home, Leo confronted her. "You knew," he said, his voice breaking. "You knew Dad was innocent, and you let him rot in prison." Naomi's face crumpled. "Leo, please, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly," he said coldly. "You chose money over Dad." 1 month later, Thomas was released early for good behavior. He stepped out of prison, blinking in the harsh sunlight, unsure what awaited him. To his surprise, Naomi stood there, her face lined with years of guilt. Beside her was Leo, taller now, his eyes a mirror of Thomas's own. "I'm sorry," Naomi whispered. "I made a terrible mistake." Thomas said nothing as they drove to their new home, a home bought with the price of his freedom. The silence was deafening. That evening, as Thomas sat alone on the patio, Leo approached him, a small memory card in his hand. "Dad," he said quietly, "I found something. Something that proves you were innocent all along." Together, they watched the video. Thomas's hands trembled as he heard Sophia's confession, Benson's angry accusations. "Your mother had this?" he asked, his voice hollow. Leo nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "She took money to stay quiet." Something hardened in Thomas's eyes. Without a word, he stood and walked to the garage. He got into Naomi's car and drove straight to the police station. By morning, the story had exploded across social media. Innocent man framed by employer's wife, the truth finally revealed. Benson and Sophia Bennett were arrested at their home, the evidence against them irrefutable. Naomi was taken in as an accessory after the fact. In the final courtroom scene, as the judge sentenced the Bennetts to 7 years each, Thomas stood up. "Your Honor," he said, his voice steady. "Before this concludes, I have one question." The courtroom fell silent. "Where is Lucia, the cook who first recorded this confession?" Sophia's face drained of color. Benson looked away. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Wright, are you suggesting there's more to this case?" Thomas nodded slowly. "I believe there is, Your Honor, and I won't rest until the full truth comes to light." As the Bennetts were led away in handcuffs, Thomas turned to Leo, who stood watching with tears in his eyes. "It's over, Dad," Leo whispered. Thomas shook his head, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. "No, son. The truth is just beginning to come out." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed around them, cameras flashing. Thomas stood tall, his dignity restored, but his eyes held a new purpose. Justice had been served, but at what cost? And what other secrets remained buried? The story of Thomas Wright was far from over.